Hi folks, my perspective here. Today I'm going to teach you how to scale an image up in perfect proportion using a straight line. So you'll say, well, I'm not an artist, but actually you are. And it's a lot simpler than you think. And the point of this lesson is to teach you scaling, how the eye works and how perspective works. You see, some people will say, well, I want to see absolute proof that the earth is flat. Well, it's in the lesson that I'm teaching you. It's in this art lesson. So we'll see as we go along. We'll get to the lesson. But before we get to the lesson, we have to look at the word scale, right? And the word balance, and the word level. This will help us understand what's going on, right? So there's a connection between the word level and scale. In other words, you can only scale something up if it's level, right? So level also means equal. For you to scale something up, it has to be level or equal. Equal when those parallel lines. Level. Two lines that are level, horizontal. So if I look at the word level, right, and look carefully, what do you see? Do you see a scale? So look in the middle, there's a V. On each end of the V is an E, and next to the E is an L. There's your balance. There's your scale. So scale gives you balance. But now do you see it? Right, so now let's apply this in art. So level, right? If something's level, it has to be balanced. To scale it up, right, it has to be level. You can't scale it up if it's not level. So if I put a grid over the word level here, I tilt the grid back into 3D space, right? And now we're going to scale things up when they level. You can only scale something up when it's level. So it doesn't matter where you stand, it's still level, right? Not your position. So if something's level, it scales up in perfect proportion. If it's not level, you cannot scale it. Its angles cannot stay the same. So the angles must stay the same. It's not about your position. I move my position left and right. If I move my position backwards and forwards, it only scales if it's level with the horizon, right? And things scale in perfect proportion if they are level with the horizon. So let's look at 3D space, right? There's a building. We know that the building, from your position, all those building lines are parallel, right? If I move that building towards me, the building stays the same. The proportions and everything in that building, nothing changes in 3D space. On a 2D planar surface, if I've got a level line on the bottom and the side, I'll draw lines between those points. I can scale the building up and the building maintains its proportion to those lines. Right, so you have an image of a bird, right? You want to scale this bird up. You draw a line between the two corners, right? Then you draw parallel lines anywhere, long as it's parallel with the bottom of the image and the top of the image. Then you draw lines down where it crosses that line to the corners. Now that square that you've drawn is the exact same size in proportion to your image. Now on your image you just make dots, like for example by the beak, by the eye, points that are going to be reference points as points when you enlarge. Now you've done that, right? So you've got a small image and you want to make a large image out of this. So you put that image on the bottom left hand corner and you draw lines from the left hand corner through those points. Soft, gentle lines, soft lines, because you're going to rub them out. Right? Then you shift that image to the right hand corner, and you do the same facing the other way. From the bottom right hand corner you draw through those points. Now you got it, you understand what's going on, right? And wherever those lines meet will give you those points. Then you mark those points, right? Now what about your angles? Well, the angle of the bird's legs never changes. As long as that image at the bottom, you can move it anywhere now, as long as it's flush on the bottom or on the side, it's level, the angles stay the same. And now you can draw the bird's legs, you can draw its beak, you can draw the angle of its feathers. You just follow the same line in your image. The proportions and the angles don't change. Now, the real world is the same. Things can only scale up if it's level. If the world's curved, if you're living on a ball, you can't apply those principles in art on a curved surface. It doesn't work. This is crooked. Our eye doesn't see this way. We don't see the world curved. This curved surface that people think they see, it's in their mind. It's because of how you've been educated, what we've been taught. It's not the real world. This is not the Creator's standards. The Creator's level. It's a scale. Now let's apply this turn image, right? Look at this image. What a beautiful image, right? Okay, so there's a statue. We're going to use the statue as a marker, but we see everything is upright. The buildings are upright. The horizon is flat. This image alone tells you you're living on a flat world. But now let's push the image back in 3D space, right? Now we're going to apply what we've spoken about in that image in the bird to the real world. So, if I bring that statue forward, right, it always stays level. It has to be level. Now, if I change my position, right, and I'm far away from that statue, and I take a photograph, the horizon line is still flat. No matter what angle I am to that photograph, no matter how big I make the scale, how big I make the photograph, the principle in scaling and leveling things stay the same. It's level. That's why that image is always upright, no matter how far away you are from that, or what angle you are from that statue, and you take a photograph. It's level. And if I rotate the word level, you see it looks the same from the front and the back. That's why they made the word level, and that's why it looks like it is. So think of an eye, right? The level is in your eye. Artists use the eye to level things out. No matter how far away something is, it's level with the horizon. You're leveling it out. You can scale it up with your eye. Well, in the education system, we haven't been trained to look. All the education system is put images in your mind, and then you've got to colour it in yourself. You just colour in what we've planted in your mind. That's not an education. You have to learn to look. The education system is crooked. The history is corrupt. You have to look. So you can't check the history, but you can look because the world is there. Just look at the real world. Some people, they can't tell the difference between a round ball and a NASA flat image of a round ball. Look. Don't just colour in. Look. Open your eyes and look and think. And you'll see NASA is not your friend. Look carefully. Pay attention. Look, an artist, right? He has to tell the truth. He draws and he paints what he sees, not half-truths. See, a person who gives you half-truths is like a friend. He invites you to a meal, you see, but the empty bit is for you. and he insults you again by saying, well, we're still friends, right? Well, someone who's giving you half-truths is not your friend. And you need to use discernment. For example, now someone says to you, I've got a photograph of a building, and then there's a road that's sticking up in front of the building and covering half the building. And that's possible. And the building is upright. Right? But now someone says, I've got a photograph of a building sticking up behind the horizon, and there's a wall of water in front of the building. Well, that's not possible. They're either lying to you or they're mistaken. So let's have a look at that. Well, if it's a road, right, we know that's possible. You're upright. Because that building, right, if you move that building to the right, it's still upright. There can't be an ocean, because then the building has to lean over. If that building is there, the buildings further away to your left must lean over more. The buildings to your left can't just be upright now and you've got a curve of water in front of you. It's not possible. Another reason why it's not possible is the horizon itself. You see, the building can be behind the road. But if they're claiming that the water is the horizon, well, the horizon is the point of infinity. Not possible. Why? Well, because things get smaller towards the horizon. They cannot be behind the horizon. It's physically impossible. There can be nothing behind the horizon, because it's a point of infinity. Right? So here's a boy, right? The elephants get smaller towards the horizon. You can't see the cameraman behind the horizon taking the photograph of the elephants. And remember, we discussed scale, proportions, right? Small boy, big buildings. It's the same as a bigger boy and a bigger elephant. The principles in scaling. So even if you had King Kong with a camera, he'd be small and in front of the horizon, not behind the horizon. You cannot see things behind the horizon. I don't know, we make a song, I don't know. People will get it. Turn it into a rap song, they'll get it. Right, so perspective, right? Perfect scaling. That's amazing. So some will say, yes, but I'm standing on a ball. Well, if you're standing on the ball, you can't see the ball you're standing on in front of you, and then the ship behind that ball that you're standing on in front of you with a ship behind the ball you're standing on. Not possible. Right? And if there's they'll say there's an arc in the ocean, right? It means your ship's angle has to change when it comes towards you. And if you look at my other video, the cruise days, well, you'll get it. Not possible. So the ship comes over the horizon, then the aeroplane flying level with the ship, right, will also have to curve. And since the curve is greater, his curve will be more. And this is insanity. This is not real. This is not the real world. This is a cartoon that they've implanted in your mind. So the reality is, aeroplanes come from the horizon. The aeroplane level with the ship, you see it level, and that's perspective. Tells you you're living on a flat earth, not on a ball. So, what I've been talking about now, do you know that Jesus mentioned the same principle in 2 sentences about things scaling up in proportion? It's simple. There it is, at Luke 16 verse 10. It's the same principle. it's the same principle. Faithful in what is small. So another word for faith is truth, accurate, justice. So I hope you enjoyed this, and cheers and thanks for watching.